Max Kellerman, First Take down in Houston for the Super Bowl. Just did the show from the set at Lucky's across the street. What are we calling this? Is there a name for this? Have we branded this anything?
Max's Facebook Live.
Max's Facebook Live? All right, and we're just going to take questions, right?
Yeah.
So you just want me to turn to these fine gentlemen and say, what's your question? All right, shoot, go ahead.
Okay, well, you answered one of my questions across the web, but the other question I have is about CiRGlG.
Yeah.
I don't think he's called top level fighter, you know,
right.
A big name fighter.
Right.
So a lot of people say he's the best in his weight class.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
He's clearly the best in his weight class, and the reason he hasn't fought top-level fighters is because they've ducked him. That is the reason. CiRGlG, I've seen how this works, will fight anyone in the division. Not everyone in the division will fight him. And there are many ways to duck a fight. For example, they say, yeah, I'll fight CiRGlG, I'll fight CiRGlG. You get a call, okay. No, but I want this money, and they give you a number that's not realistic. That's the way you price yourself out of the fight. CiRGlG is clearly the best middleweight in the world, and the fact, but you're right, pound for pound, he's been overrated because he hasn't proven it yet. That's not his fault. That's the fault of the other fighters in the division and their promoters and managers who don't want to get their guys' head knocked off by CiRGlG.
Does SOG want to step down a little bit in weight to fight him?
Andre Ward is the one guy under 175 pounds who would be favored to beat CiRGlG. He would be correctly favored to win that fight, but he's a light heavyweight now.
Right.
If he's still fighting, he's not sure that he is. So if he's still fighting, he's a light heavyweight. He's not coming down to 60. I don't even know if Andre could make 68. So, but I do think that eventually, if they both keep fighting, that's the fight you'll see. Because a real super fight is not something that's promoted into existence. A real super fight, when the dust settles, who are the two gunslingers left standing, right? Ali, Frazier. Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Mayweather, Pacquiao. And if you believe what I believe, then you think when the dust settles, Andre Ward, CiRGlG, but time will tell. It always does. What's going on?
Thank you.
Hey Max, just look this way and shake my hand, please. How you doing?
Somehow I won't shake the guys' hands to get pounds, but the women don't have cooties. Isn't that funny when you're a kid? The girls have the cooties, and then when you get older, the boys do. Yeah.
All right, say damn, don't say down.
If Canelo gets through Chavez Jr., if Chavez Jr. even makes the weight, the fight happens. Does he have enough to knock him out? And if he does knock Chavez Jr. out, does that give him the upper hand against CiRGlG?
I don't know if he has enough to knock Chavez out. It's a hell of a fight because Canelo is better and he's active, but he's giving up so much size to Chavez Jr., who takes a good shot and keeps coming. That is a tremendous
He is
action
giving up
fight.
size, but everybody knows Canelo's 154.
Yeah.
When he comes in the ring, he's at least once. He's a true
But
middleweight
what do you
in the
think
ring.
Chavez Jr. is when he comes
He's
in the
gonna
ring?
come in super middleweight.
Chavez Jr., by the time
Maybe
he gets
light
to
heavyweight.
Light heavyweight, he is minimum 85, maybe 90. He's a cruiserweight when he gets in the ring. That's a lot of size Canelo's giving up. That's what makes it an interesting fight.
That's a killer. Like, man, thank you, mate.
Coming up as an analyst or a journalist, who do you look up to the most for help?
What's that?
Who do you look up to the most for help coming up as a journalist or analyst?
I really didn't look to anyone for help. I would say people influenced me. Like, for example, Larry Merchant, I thought was always very, he had an interesting take on stuff. You know, it wasn't like the first thing or the second thing you were thinking, but when he said it, you would think, yeah, I know exactly what he means. And he was very good. I always liked the guys who told the story of what was happening, right? Because as human beings, that's how we interpret the world. We tell stories about what's happening. So even like LeBron James, here's the hero, here's the obstacles. We all know what's at stake for the hero. We all know how big the obstacle is. The bigger the obstacle, the more we're invested in the protagonist, the better the story, right? So if somehow LeBron James can overcome the Warriors this year, that's an even better story than coming back from 3-1 last year. And I always liked people who told the story of what was happening. You do.
I like you because you've been around the gym. Can you tell the truth whether it's a team or not? Stephen Evans, I hate him.
Well, he definitely hates on
But anyway, my question is, your honest opinion, even though I know you're a Giants fan, what you think Dallas should do?
That's the worst decision he's made.
Tony Romo should stay on the bench for the Cowboys because he's a perfect backup quarterback. He's just very expensive. But he's perfect backup quarterback because he's a totally elite quarterback when he's on the field. You just can't rely you can't rely on him being on the field. But if you have Dak, he's an obviously excellent young quarterback, and if anything happens to Dak, you got Romo right there on the bench. Now everyone says, well, that's so much money to spend on a backup quarterback. Well, you're not spending anything on Dak yet. So people have a problem because the whole thing in Dallas is who's going to back up at quarterback. And you got your backup now, it's just who you thought was going to be the starter. So people shouldn't get confused about that. They got the guy. And if I were Dallas, I would keep him on the bench, but I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I got you.
Last question.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Max, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, got a quick question. Just want to know if your New York Football Giants are going to take the division next year, and also do you think Odell is the best receiver?
You can't call him the best right now because he dropped passes in the biggest game, his only playoff appearance of his career. He drops passes, so I believed he was the best, but in the moment of truth, you got to catch those balls.
Right.
Julio Jones has to be considered the best the way he's shown up. His size, the whole thing, and then showing up in the biggest moments and playing at his best. You have to give that to Julio right now. And the Giants' fortunes depend entirely on how they do in this year's draft. They have to do something about the offensive line.
Right.
I mean, they have other holes too, but they got a really good secondary. I like their front four a lot. Their safeties with Landon Collins playing much better than I thought they would. Even their linebackers were a little better than I thought they'd be. Their offensive line is a mess. And therefore they're having problems running the ball and even protecting Eli, but especially running the ball. They got to fix that, and I would say the best chance to do it, like you can sign a veteran guard somewhere. That's not that bad. Right. Pew, and they have one or two other guys who can play, but if you got to hit it big in the draft on the offensive line.
And you can't be partying before the playoff games.
I mean, you can if you ball. Once, right. Odell can do whatever he wants on his day off, but two things, Odell. You got to ball, and your team better win.
That's right.
And he didn't ball, and his team lost, so now everyone's going to point to the vote.
Thanks, man.
All right, nice to meet you. That's it. We're done.